Welcome to Tech Blueprint, a window that lets you know the latest technology news in the world. When Samsung announced that it would mass-produce 2nm chips in 2025, the mobile phone industry seemed to usher in a new round of technological changes. However, hidden behind the glamorous announcement is an industrial game of life and death. The 30% trial production yield recently announced by the Korean giant, although it has increased by 10 percentage points compared with half a year ago, is still not enough to support commercialization needs. According to industry rules, the chip yield needs to reach at least 60% to achieve profitability. What's more embarrassing is that due to the delay in mass production of its own Exynos 2500 chip, Samsung's latest flagship Galaxy S26 is equipped with the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor of its competitor Qualcomm. This dilemma of making chips for opponents with its own production line exposes the cruelty of the semiconductor war. Although there's still some distance from mass production, Samsung's announcement still makes me see that the global semiconductor landscape is undergoing a profound reconstruction. At present, TSMC has won top orders such as Apple A17 and Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 with the mature mass production of 3nm process, and its 2nm factory has entered the equipment debugging stage. Intel, through US subsidies, is trying to regain manufacturing dominance by building a $20 billion cutting-edge wafer plant in Ohio. In this technological competition, Samsung's 2nm breakthrough is not only a competition at the corporate level, but also related to South Korea's position in the global industrial chain. Because semiconductor exports account for 20% of the country's total exports, any technological lag may shake the foundation of its national economy. On the other hand, the rise of Chinese semiconductor companies has also added new variables to this competition. SMIC achieved mass production of 14nm process in 2024, and the yield of 28nm mature process caught up with TSMC, and tested 7nm technology in a newly built wafer plant in Beijing. Although the Kirin 9010 chip designed by Huawei HiSilicon still uses 14nm process due to the limitation of lithography machine, its performance is said to be close to 7nm level. These developments have made some domestic consumers optimistic that domestic chips are about to overtake, and the topic of SMIC surpasses Samsung in 3 years, on social media, has been read more than 200 million times. However, I personally think that the current competitive landscape is not optimistic, because the real industrial gap is still clearly visible. For example, in the most critical extreme ultraviolet (EUV) lithography field, ASML's latest 0.55 NA lithography machine has a unit price of $400 million. Samsung and TSMC have purchased more than 20 units, while Chinese companies are still restricted from purchasing. In terms of GAA transistor technology required for 2nm, domestic research and development is still in the laboratory stage. What is more serious is that 75% of the global semiconductor equipment market is controlled by American companies such as Applied Materials and Lam Research, which makes Chinese companies' technological breakthroughs always face the risk of stuck neck. This cognitive gap has spawned special industrial phenomena. For example, A domestic mobile phone brand once caused controversy by promoting self-developed 4nm chips, which was later confirmed to be an improved version of the 12nm process. Some self-media exaggerated the breakthrough in chip packaging and testing as leading process technology, resulting in irrational fluctuations in the capital market. Experts pointed out that this information asymmetry in the public opinion field not only reflects the public's urgent expectation for technological autonomy, but may also cover up the technical difficulties that really need to be overcome. Faced with complex global competition, China's semiconductor industry is looking for a differentiated breakthrough path. Yangtze Memory's 232-layer 3D NAND flash memory technology has entered the international first-tier supply chain, and Woes Semiconductor has a global market share of over 30% in mobile phone image sensors. These breakthroughs in subdivided fields are reshaping the industry landscape. However, in core areas such as logic chips, there is still a 5 to 8 generation gap between China and the United States. As the Semiconductor Industry Association report stated, at a time when Moore's law is approaching its physical limits, the competition between the pursuers and the leaders has entered the nano-level tangle stage. In this war without gunpowder, Samsung's yield anxiety is just the tip of the iceberg. When TSMC's 2nm factory received a 50% advance payment from Apple and Intel received a $10 billion subsidy from the U.S. CHIPS Act, China's semiconductor industry needs to think more calmly. How to build real competitiveness in invisible battlefields such as basic materials, equipment, and EDA tools. After all, the chip war has never been just a contest of nanometer numbers, but a protracted war involving the entire industry chain ecosystem. Samsung's 30% 2nm trial production yield cannot hide the commercialization dilemma, and its flagship phone is forced to carry Qualcomm chips, exposing the industry chain struggle. TSMC's 3nm order monopoly and Intel's $20 billion wafer fab are pressing ahead. China's SMIC's 7nm test and Huawei's 14nm performance breakthrough reflect hope, but the EUV lithography machine ban and GAA technology generation gap warn. The chip war is a protracted war involving the entire industry chain ecosystem. Behind the nanometer numbers lies an invisible battlefield for equipment and materials.